everybody, and welcome back to the Just Make It Pretty podcast, or welcome if it's your first time here. We're so happy to have you. Today, we are going back to the fundamentals, you guys. We are going to be talking about all the things that you should be focusing on in your foundation of your marketing strategy and what those things are and how you can optimize that for the biggest impact moving into the end of 2026 and into 2027. So we're going to be talking about AI. We're going to be talking about new tools and why home builders are looking for that silver bullet solution. But really what you need help with is the fundamentals of marketing, which is your messaging, your follow-up, your SEO, and alignment between sales and marketing. So if you feel like you maybe need to simplify your strategies or you need help cutting through the clutter in your marketing, this episode is going to be for you. So let's stick around and get into it. Welcome to the Just Make It Pretty podcast, the marketing and mindset show for home builders and beyond. I'm your host, Sarah Haynes, and around here we go beyond pretty pictures and we get honest about what's working, what's not, and what it really takes to build better brands, better experiences, and better teams. You'll find creative ideas, practical strategies, and conversations that actually matter. I'm so glad you're here. Now let's get started. All right, everybody, here we are with Matt Riley, the owner of New Home Inc. I'm so excited to have you here today, Matt, and I feel like our conversation is going to be all around all these topics that builders really need right now. So thank you so much for being here and sharing all of your expertise with us today.
Thank you, Sarah, for inviting me. It's all going to be hopefully fun and exciting for your listeners, and see where things go today.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
I think we're going to have a great conversation.
Let's rock and roll.
Awesome. I would love for you to give a little bit of history behind New Home Inc. How did you get here? And just give us a little bit of background.
Yeah, it's like a 10,000-foot overview. I have been in the industry for coming up now on 25 years. I started off in sales in the model home, selling houses, did that for a long time. Hit the rung of sales leadership, and then into the marketing side of things with a emphasis on digital marketing. That was through the Great Recessions. It was out of pure necessity. Technology has always been a hobby of mine, and I kind of got put in by the marketing side of things by default because I was one of the few people at the company who really understood more the technology side. So it was really great timing from that perspective. So I've kind of hit on the sales and marketing side of things all the rungs of the ladder: sales manager, salesperson, sales manager, director of sales and marketing manager, VP of sales and marketing. And when the company I was with in Raleigh, North Carolina, called Royal Oaks Homes, was owned by a single guy and a single owner, I should say, and he sold that company in 2017. And so then I ventured off for a while and did the kind of outsourcing, the consulting side of things. And then we came back together in 2021 and started New Home Inc. together with myself and a few of my partners. And it was a great time to start a brand new home building company because it was in the midst of COVID and you couldn't get anything. It was a great time to start a home building company when you couldn't get supplies. But we did well. We started off and we closed our first 5 homes in 2021. And then in 2022, we sold 40 or closed 47 homes. And then we jumped up to 52, I think, in 2023. 2024, we did a little over 100. And then last year we did roughly about 150 closings. And this year we'll kind of be a little flat, but we'll be in that 160 to 170 range because we've sold through a bunch of stuff and we're getting new neighborhoods online. And so hopefully next year, as they say in the South, God willing and the creek don't rise, we'll have all our neighborhoods and lots in front of us for all of next year, and we could be up to 250, 275. So we've seen a lot of rapid growth, but it's been controlled, it's been intentional, but it's also been an incredibly competitive market here in Raleigh.
I'm actually moving to the Charlotte area pretty soon here. And
Yeah.
I've heard everybody now that I meet is from somewhere in North Carolina, which is
Yeah.
amazing. But that's what everybody said. They're like, oh my gosh, all the builders are here. It's so competitive.
Last time I looked, I think there was like 23 publicly traded home builders just in the Raleigh metro area. There's probably a few more than that in Charlotte, maybe about the same because I don't know how many more there are. But yeah, both very competitive markets and very high relo in. I think right now about a little over 40% of all of our buyers are relocation buyers.
Yeah. Yeah. It's one of the
So,
most popular places right now to move to, which is why I'm moving there. But yeah,
yeah.
it's a great place to be. And you guys have had really steady growth, which is great. I'm really excited to talk about some of the marketing that you've done to lead to some of that growth and also talk about the industry in general, because I haven't been in the industry as long as you have. But the builders that I have worked with, it seems like a lot of them are throwing spaghetti at the wall, hoping something sticks. And it's
Yeah.
just like marketing is a mess. And so I'd love to hear your perspective on that, if you've also seen the same thing or maybe not.
I think that's something that happens all the time in our industry, right? I think that I have seen over the years that our industry really lags behind in really taking on new things and new technology and all of that kind of stuff. Yeah, I think everybody for a long time has thrown spaghetti at the wall. I think it's rapidly increased because I think now with a lot of the new technology that's out there, aka AI, everybody thinks that's the silver bullet. It's going to be the magic thing that you can just sit down and it's just going to figure it all out for you. And I wish that were the case, but it's not. It's a great tool. I'm sure we'll dive into that. And there's definitely ways that you can pick up some unbelievable efficiencies, but it is not a silver bullet. And I think that's where people are really trying to throw things at the wall to see what sticks. And so everybody's gonna see where the spaghetti lands very soon.
Definitely. It would be so nice if AI was just here just to fix everything and it really was just going to be a magical cure. That would be
Yeah.
great. But I don't think that's what's happening. And I think that as the market is not the most amazing right now, a lot of people are saying, oh, it's a hard market. I see a lot of builders
Sarah, the
scrambling and
market's
really,
incredible. It's incredible. However you want to take that, it's
yeah.
incredible.
Oh,
And
the
I
market.
think that's where we all have to get our head. It is what it is, and if you're like, woe's me, this is a bad or a hard market or whatever, then the decision's unanimous, right? So you can only deal with the cards that you're given, and so
Yeah.
your job is to go make it happen. An old saying is on our businesses, we've got to sell whether you do or not. So what that means is we got to keep selling. We can't say that the
Mhm.
market's not good or the market's tough or it's really competitive or interest rates are too high. None of that matters. We still have to plow through.
I agree. And I think people they're looking for and not really an excuse, but a reason as to why things are not as easy as they want it to be. But it's the only market we have, right? It's like
Only
you
one.
got to accept what we have. And I just see a lot of scrambling happening. And when that starts to happen, I see fundamentals of marketing kind of crumbling. And I think that's a really interesting thing. I'm like, why does that happen, do you think?
I think it's easy for us to lose sight of staying focused on the basics. And that's why things start to crumble is because we lose sight of the fundamentals. I remember working with builders in the peak of the like when COVID first hit, 2019, early 2020. And people were literally once we got through 90 days of trying to figure out is the sky falling, then real estate took off and something we've never seen before. And people were literally throwing checks at you. Literally. Can I please buy this home? So this happened. I saw something similar to this happen in the Great Recession in 08, 09, 2010. Because what happened pre that era was this was a little bit of the reverse. So we had the big ramp up pre the Great Recession. And what it did is it taught us that you had subprime money, anybody you could fog a mirror, you could get a loan. It was just really too much free flowing money out there. But what it did is it taught people bad habits. It taught them that any activity created a positive result because you could stand out on the side of on the side of the street with a sandwich board that said new homes this way, and you would go and you would sell homes. But what
Mhm.
happened when the market crashed is people took those same activities that they thought worked that weren't core fundamentals, and then they were trying to do the same thing in a different market, and that market was horrendous market. That's why I say this is an incredible market. I live that. You didn't go when you went to work one day, you didn't know if your company was going to be there the next day. It was awful. And so you people saw that they weren't following the core fundamentals. And so you had to really get back in touch with that to make it through the other side. Now, fast forward to 2019, 2020, 2021, and similar things we went through. That was the ramp up. And so everybody everybody thought people just beg you to buy houses, right? They just beg you to
Hmm.
buy homes. And
Hmm.
now we're back into what I would consider just frankly, a normal market. Look,
Hmm.
we're back to 2018, 2019 levels as a country. That is in no shape of the imagination a poor market. That's just not an easy market. It's just not one throwing money at you, literally. And so we went through that other ramp up again, and everybody got used to people begging to buy homes. And when that happens, your muscles, your fundamental muscle atrophies. And
Hmm.
so then you look up and you're like, holy crap, why am I not selling houses at the same pace? Well, because people aren't giving you money. They're not throwing money and checks at you. So that's why people are seeing things crumble, is because it's easy to forget what those core fundamentals are when it's really simple.
Hmm.
That's what I think. Because then when things get tough again, or tougher than what the stupid easy market was, then we're like, oh, then we're looking for the easy button, right? It's like, oh, I went to the gym today. Why didn't I drop 10 pounds? It's got instantaneous results that we're looking for. And we've got to got everybody back in touch. So when all that took off, one of the things that I was talking about to builders then was stay if you train on anything, keep training your people on the core fundamentals of how to take people through the sales process, how to market your homes, and core fundamentals. You don't have to overspend, but stay in touch with the core fundamentals. I talk about this with my team all the time, and we always refer back to professional athletes. I played baseball, so I'm a baseball guy. But professional athletes, what do they do every day? They make millions of dollars. What do they do every day for practice? They hit off of a tee. They hit
Hmm.
off a tee every single day. That's what you do when you're 5 years old and you're learning to play the game. You hit off a tee. So a professional is doing the same things that a 4 and 5 year old does when they're first learning the game, because it's still the same core fundamentals and mechanics of a basic swing to hit the ball cleanly off of a tee. It's the same fundamental principles for what we do from a marketing and a sales process and an operational excellence, executing operationally in your office, in the field with construction, all of those things all tie together, and staying in touch with those core fundamentals. Otherwise, you're going to have a tough time. Not that it's easy for us, but we just talk about it we talk about the fundamentals all the time. You asked me what time it was, and I asked you how to build a watch, or I told you how to build a watch. But I think that like all pulls it together on how we go through these ebbs and flows of a market.
I think a lot of people came into the industry in that time period with 2020 and that just insanity market. And that, so this is also the first time that they're seeing a normal market. And so,
Yeah.
yeah, of course it seems hard because it's not that craziness that you started with. But I think it's an exciting time because we can go back to a lot of the really, I view them as fun. I love marketing. So I'm like, we get to do all of these things that we were trained to do, that we
Yeah.
got to do earlier in our careers. And now we get to come back to that and be a little bit more creative and think of new ideas. And it's not just this, everyone wants to buy a home. So what are we even really here in marketing for?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, you didn't have to. You didn't have to do a lot
Right.
of marketing, right? So
Yeah.
then, but now a whole different deal.
Yeah. So I think that's fun. I think that's exciting. And I'm having a lot more conversations with builders now about things that we used to do, and I love it. But again, and you alluded to this in the beginning, AI has really taken over the conversation as well with
Sure.
marketing. And while people are thinking that it's going to be their just magic cure, they're also confused about like how to use it and what we should be doing with it and all of that.
Yeah.
What do you think about AI and what do you think about builders? What do you think builders are getting wrong right now as we're trying to come into this new world?
I think that a couple of things. I think that AI is an amazing tool. I think you have to use it right. You still have to have your core fundamentals, and you still
Yeah.
have to know what you're doing. I believe you still have to be a subject matter expert. And what AI gives you is it gives you bandwidth on steroids, right? It takes what you already know and amplifies it by 10. Now, that can be a really good thing, or that can be a really bad thing. Because if you aren't good at or don't have a handle on the basic core fundamentals, let's use SEO as a really basic thing, right? As an example. So if you don't know from a structure perspective how your let's just say your website's supposed to be put together, your blog content, the content that you produce for your customer base. If you don't know how that is supposed to be put together structurally for Google to read it, that is formatted properly, if buyers want to read it, all the things that we could spend a whole episode just talking about that. So I don't want to go down that rabbit hole. But if you don't know and aren't totally tied into what those core fundamentals are, if whatever if you're producing if you're producing something at average or mediocre, right, or substandard, and because you don't know all the you're not an expert in that stuff, then you throw AI into the mix, you're going to be producing substandard work times 10. So you're just going to be creating more bad product. So it's actually worse for you. AI is no good for you because now you're just doing a bad job times 10. And
Mhm.
so people think, and that's where it goes wrong. People think that they can go to ChatGPT or they can go to Claude or they can go to Gemini or they can go any of those other, pick your perplexity, pick your source. And they're going to be like, help me market new homes, enter. And then all of a sudden you have a marketing plan laid out with branding guidelines and style sheets and a Google Ads and a social media campaign, and it doesn't work that way.
Yeah.
And so you have to understand what you're doing so you can tell it what you want and then increase your bandwidth from there. I think that is the biggest misconception or the biggest miss that people are probably having right now.
Yes. I did a LinkedIn post about this because I'm on Facebook, I'm on social media, and I have seen so many businesses, not just in home building, but everywhere. They now all of their marketing looks exactly the same. And I pulled like flyers from events from all over
Sure.
the country, all over the world, really. And it could have been anyone. All of them could have been interchangeable because they looked exactly the same because they're all using AI to create them.
Yeah.
And I think that's where it's the biggest argument for why it's not going to take our job because like, that this is what's happening out in the world is everyone's starting to look the same, sound the same
Yeah.
because they're just using AI terribly and thinking, "Oh, I don't need a marketing person now. I've got AI."
Of course, right? So how do you prevent that from happening, right? Like how do you prevent what you're putting out there to look the same, sound the same, read the same, and is what people call AI slop? Like how do you prevent that from happening? Well, you have to have a good set of core fundamentals in place. From a brand perspective, you've got to have style guides, you've got to have brand voice, you've got to have buyer personas, you've got to have writing styles. You've got to have specific creative direction, and you have to understand how to input all of this information into your AI so it knows what you want it to produce, how you want it to produce, and what you want it to look like. And just because even when you give it very specific things, that doesn't mean it gets it right every time. Because I promise you it doesn't. You
No.
still have to tweak it. You still have to read it. You still have to have human intervention. It can't be set it and forget it, publish, right? But that's why. So you've got to have these core fundamental things in place so then you can give the AI the very specific instruction that it actually really wants. It operates much, much better when it has very specific instruction.
Yes, yes, and that will keep you out of that just pit of everything now is gonna sound like every other home builder out there, and you're gonna end up I think a lot of businesses right now are shooting themselves in the foot in terms of their branding and just their overall they're gonna realize in a couple of years, "Oh my gosh, look what we had done with AI when it first started." And I know that's also gonna come into play with the search, like you had said earlier about SEO. I'd love to dive into the SEO side a little bit more and AI search. What's happening there? What are some things that builders should know?
So builders should know a couple of things from an AI and SEO. So we talked about core fundamentals, like you got to have the right site structure, you got to have the
Mm.
right URL structure, the right title tags, H1s, H2s, H3s. Your schema has to be correct on the page. These are things that you've got to work with your web developer on to make sure that's structurally sound because that's how Google reads. That's how people read. When you think about what are all those terms? What did I just rattle off? But it's like a term paper, right? So an H1 is the title, or your title tag of your page is going to be the title of your paper. Your H1 is going to be your main headings. Your H2s are going to be your indents, your subheadings, and your H3s are going to be subheadings, and then you can have paragraph copy, right? And it's really laid out on, okay, this is how you would write an actual research paper. That's how Google works. If Google works that way and it reads things, that's the same way that Google AI is is reading it. It has to know what to go look at, and you have to tell it the correct way of, here, this is what's on my site, this is what's on this page, this is how it's relevant to the question that someone is asking it, right? Now, we also just got flooded the other day with Google releases, and they're leaning heavily into the AI overviews and AI search and all of that kind of stuff. But yeah, it's going to change. Things are going to change. I don't know exactly what that is because it's all happening so fast, and it's happened relatively quickly. So anybody that says they've got it all figured out is wrong. They don't have it all figured out. They If someone says I got this all figured out, I probably need to run the other way because it's impossible. Just like people had it all figured out when COVID first hit. And they're like, I've got the playbook. 15 to 30 days after they shut the world down, somebody had a playbook on how to sell through COVID. I'm like, no, nobody alive. It's been 100 years since the pandemic. So nobody's done this one before. So you can't have a playbook, right? So this is all happening in real time right in front of us. So nobody has an actual playbook on how it's going to be. You just have to do your best to, again, make sure those core fundamentals are there and then stay up to date with it, right? And stay up to date with what's happening. Experiment some. Don't turn the faucet on or off, or don't do a full 180 because and abandon everything that you've been doing that's working for you, but you've got to experiment some and measure and monitor along the way. That's what I'm doing. We're experimenting with things, we're throwing things out there, but it's only a portion. It's only a percentage of our bandwidth and of our money. And that is, I think, the key. Just like when you structure your marketing budget, you should have some R&D in your marketing budget to be able to things that you may not even know about that might pop up throughout the year. You're like, oh man, this is a bad example because it was a massive flop and I didn't buy one. But what was the Apple headset or whatever? Like,
Oh yeah.
yeah, like maybe I was right there. I almost bought one. I tried to talk myself into it, but anyway, but things like that you're going to have to roll the dice on. You're going to have to be like, okay, I'm going to go spend a few $1,000 and try something to see if it works. That's not $1,000,000. That's not half your marketing budget, right? So you've got to plan for testing out new things. You got to plan for testing out new ways to run ads and in that kind of that R&D budget to see what works. But you have to be able to understand what you're looking at. Coming back to you still have to be an expert, and you still have to have the reporting feeding to you so you know what the data is telling you to do.
Yeah. I think when AI was first coming into home building and everybody's now talking about it, I think one of the biggest things that caused this, oh, we have to throw everything out now and just use AI, was there was a lot of fear tactics talked about where it was like, oh, AI is here now, your website's completely invisible and
Yeah.
everything's changing. And so it felt like we need to throw away everything to restart in this new world of AI. And I'm starting to see people like, pulling back on that now and being like, oh no, just kidding. Like if it turns out works similar to how Google worked before, if we need to have our SEO in place.
Yeah.
And so we could this roller coaster ride of,
Sure.
oh my God, everything's different. And we have to throw out everything we've been working on over the past decade or whatever. And I'm like, that to me, that was the scariest part. It was like, please don't do that. Let's not.
Yeah, no, absolutely. Don't throw it all out. Your website's not invisible. If your website is invisible, it's because your website's always been invisible. It's because you haven't been doing the right things, or you didn't get connected with the right people to make sure that your stuff was set up correctly. So if it's truly invisible, it's always been invisible.
Mhm.
So yeah, definitely it's not throw everything out and do a complete 180. It's test and test and test and test. And then, okay, what change do we need to make? We're making changes. We're doing things. But and it's going to be impactful. This isn't another, oh, just some little fad. It's happening. It's just not happening in 4 months.
Yeah.
Now, you have to be in the know. You have to sign up for newsletters. You have to go sign up for a bunch of stuff in the tech world, in the AI world, where you read it and you're like, I don't even know what this means. Great. Send this to me every single day. Send me an email every single day of all the things that are happening because I'm going to read it. And I literally did that. I was like, okay, I don't know what some of these words are. Like, I've got, and so I just forced myself to continue to read it. And then, okay, I understand that a little more. And then something, also understanding that it's changing or it makes it look like it changes every day, and you can find it's like swirl, and so you can't get too distracted and too diverted over every little shiny thing while you're on your path.
I think that with websites and the changes that we have to make for AI now, there's definitely things that we can be doing to make our content better. But I'm so happy about it because I feel like we're going back to what actually people need too. We're answer questions, give real insights. And I think SEO went through a really weird stage where it was like, you're only talking to robots and you have to just spam all of these keywords. And like,
Yeah,
that was so detrimental to our buyer's experience. So I think that with the changes that AI is bringing, it's actually helping us out. It's making this
yeah.
better.
Yeah, for sure. I agree. Yeah, again, your whatever you input, whatever the person who's using it, whatever the skill set that goes in is going to be amplified by 10x. So make sure that you got it down because whatever your input is coming out tenfold at at the same level.
Yeah. Yeah, definitely. Okay, so let's go into talking about you had shared in the beginning as well that you're in a very competitive market over there in Raleigh. And I'd love to hear some of your insights about how that influences the marketing decisions that you make and how it's shaped your approach over the last few years.
Yeah, I think that in a market like Raleigh, where there's 20 something publicly traded builders, and a lot of them, the majority of them, seem like they have just empty, just bottomless pockets, right? Endless pockets with bottomless pits of money. The reality is that's not the truth, right? They do have a limit on their money, and you're starting to see it. You're starting to see it, and the reason you're starting to see it is because of their stock, because they report to Wall Street, and you're starting to see their earnings are incredibly thin. Their profit is incredibly thin. And so their only value proposition, a lot of times, not all, but let's just use the big ones, the top five, are typically price driven value propositions. So for us, we have to understand. We always say, listen, I can't Lennar, I can't DR Horton. As a matter of fact, I don't want to. That's not the product we build. Our buyer is, if it's a first time buyer, price point, it's an upper end first time buyer, higher on that, whatever that scale is. But our primary buyer is a one time move up, second time move up, and move down buyer. We definitely get into some of the entry level, but again, if I'm in the, nobody else can see if you're not watching, but if I'm in this bracket of say 300 to 400, my price bracket's going to be 380 to 420. So I'm gonna straddle the upper end of that price bracket. So for us, making sure we understand and can clearly communicate through word, through action and demonstration and marketing what our value proposition is. We are not going to be the lowest price out there. We're not the cheapest guy. And I use the word cheapest for on purpose, right? We are not the cheapest builder out there. And so understanding that what our value proposition is and being able to, it's a short form marketing, it's short words. You think about a billboard, you only have 6 7 words to hit somebody to get them to come in, but then that has to continue through that message has to continue through the sales process conversation, whether that be through your online salesperson, whether that be through your on and throughout your on through your on-site sales team. And everything that we do is all in-house, from sales and marketing, and all of that is everything is we all of our people are in-house. We don't outsource to third-party agents for representation and things like that in the field. So having those processes right, understanding what our value proposition is, and making sure that the proverbial thread gets pulled all the way through the needle itself. That is where we find where we shine, and really owning the things that we should own. and you can still find it on our site, and it's on videos for Monica, who's our OSC. We intentionally, when it was all felt like everything was a chat bot, everybody was like, "Oh, I feel like I'm talking to robots." We started talking about we're real people. Like, she's, "Hey, I'm Monica. I'm literally a real live person. I will call you right now." So we were fully embracing we're real live people. You're not talking to an AI robot behind the screen. We're here to help you. We're here to help you personalize your home buying journey. And so that's really for me, for us, defining what our value proposition is, making sure that we communicate that publicly, and then making sure that pulls all the way through our entire process with our home buyer.
Yeah, that's so valuable. And I was working with a smaller builder not long ago, and they were doing that same thing. It was all about affordability, which like all of their messaging was that it was only talking about price. And I was like, that's great, except now you have taken away everything else that makes you special and
Yep.
like, throw that away. We don't need that. We're just going to talk about the price. And so now really didn't have a lot to compete on unless someone was like, I want a cheap home. Okay, great. There's your builder. And
Yeah.
I'm like, oh, that's just not, I don't think it's doing what you think it's doing.
Yeah, and your message can't be we build a quality home, right? Because nobody's walking into another builder and that builder is not going to be like, "Hey, listen, I just want to let you know our homes are crap. However, they've got a really great price." Nobody's saying that, right? So you can't just say we build quality, yay, look at us. You got to show it. And because I started with sales, we are a sales and marketing first organization. Nothing happens until we sell something and close a house, right? And so that has got to be the main push is fully understanding that nothing happens until we sell something. And getting that all our demo process is if a customer comes in and they've never been to one of our communities before, or if we've got a full process with a customer, there is no possible way that I can get a customer through one of our homes in under an hour. No possible way. We're locked in arm to arm going through the model or in one home. We got an education. You're making the biggest investment you'll ever make in your life, and you're telling me that you can't spend an hour with me just to learn about the things that you need to know about. And
Right.
so we go into the weeds with the customer, and we don't just talk about we have a quality home. We're going to show you what makes us different, why that's important, and how that justifies our price. At the end of our
Right.
time together, hopefully you're going to define that different equals better.
Yeah.
And so we've never had a single customer that has gone through our sales process and at the end of it said, "You know what, that was a complete waste of my time." Every single one of them said, "That's unbelievable. Thank you so much for spending that much time with me. I've been to 7 different builders and no one has gone into the level of detail that you've gone into this with us." And even if they don't buy from us, they learn something. But most of the time they do. We have an incredibly high conversion percentage. And it's because that message gets pulled all the way through. The marketing message is the sales process, and the sales process is the marketing message. So just
Yeah.
clearly defining who we are, what we do, and why we're different.
And even if that buyer doesn't buy from you today, they're going to have a friend someday and that friend's not going to know what they're doing. And they'll be like, oh my gosh, I learned so much from this builder. You need to go talk to them. And then that friend might buy a home. You never know what's going to happen. And building that trust is never a waste of time.
We're seeing longer and longer lag times we're 2 and 3 years in a CRM system and coming out of the CRM and they're
Mhm.
coming out and buying. I've been looking for 2 years. This location wasn't the ideal location for me. It wasn't where I really wanted to be, but we loved your homes and no one else. I couldn't find a home that I liked better. I didn't want to settle for another home just because it was whatever location that
Yeah.
if that's the buy. We see that happen all the time. And we try to make it where there's the least and this is where your fundamentals and the AI that you're using or whatever technology you're using, we try to make sure that it's the least amount of friction to the customer. There's no paywalls. People come in all the time with our brochure that they created where they priced out their entire home structurally, not the interior design. That's a whole nother ball of wax. But they come out and they're like, "Hey, they have a brochure in the hand or on their email, and they're coming out to validate what they think that they already want, and they're coming out to learn more, and they make purchasing decisions that day because they've spent months going through it online, or they've been into one of our communities 2 years ago that was sold out, and now they're back in another one and they're buying. And we're seeing that happen very consistently.
That definitely is happening more. And I think our buyers are more educated than ever, coming in and they want to have that ability to research online. And just going back to what we were talking about with SEO and your website, they are searching that stuff. They are searching on AI, they're searching your website.
Yeah.
And I search builders on AI all the time. And you can tell the ones that really have not put the effort like you have into who they are, what their story, because AI is confused too. It's like, yeah, they
Yeah.
build homes in this area, but that's not going to be helpful for that buyer that's really looking for
Yeah.
detailed information.
Yeah. I have no like grand disillusions of that we're showing up in every AI search. I know it's not happening, right? And
Yeah.
it's not going to happen. It's going to be a slow process until we figure out what exactly that means. You know,
Yeah.
we also know from recent studies that still the AI models are still very inconsistent. You can ask it the same search criteria or the same search phrase multiple times in a row and get different results every time. You can get different results from different LLM models. So there's just not one sheet of music that everybody's singing off of just
Yeah.
yet.
Yeah. Very true. Very true. Okay, so I have a few rapid fire questions for you as we
Okay,
end
let's
our
go.
episode. These are the fun ones. I try to make them a little bit hard though, but they're fun. So, what is one thing you think builders should stop obsessing over right now?
Stop obsessing over the magic bullet, right? It's not, or the silver bullet, the magic, whatever you want to call it. Stop obsessing over that and obsess over learning. Obsess over understanding how it works, why it works the way that it does, and then evaluate those assumptions, evaluate what you currently have against those assumptions.
Perfect. What is one marketing trend that you think is totally overrated?
Marketing trend that is totally overrated. I think that even though we're talking about AI is a great tool, I also think it can be a smidge overrated in what people, the reason being of what people think it can do for them. The easy button of creating, the word just escaped my brain. The easy button of creating fake content, AI content, video content that's not real, just because it's easy and you can do it. I think that everybody's radars are up and very skeptical of what's real and what's not real. And I think people are starting to think everything they see is not real, which is a whole nother topic. But I think that's the thing.
Yeah. AI headshots for me. Don't do that.
Yeah,
Headshots.
the everybody jumps on the trend of the headshot. Or what was the new one? The storyboard where it showed the Chat GPT spit out where it's showing your character drawing 7 different times and all your positive sayings and all the things all over the place. Yeah.
Yes, yes. That's okay. Those are fun, but it doesn't really have a place in the marketing strategy, I don't think. And I
Yeah.
think it actually, especially when you're using AI headshots, I think it just makes people not trust you instantly. They're like, I don't even know what this person looks like.
Yeah, 100%. Am I real? What's going
Yeah.
on? Yeah.
Okay, this is a fun one. So, what is one old school strategy that you think still works incredibly well today?
Being personal. I think that that stuff can go a really long way. Developing the real live relationships in your market with realtors, with your buyers, letting them see that, hey, we are real people. We're not this faceless, monstrous company. We're real people. In order for us to, if I'm talking to our realtor partners, in order for us to be successful, we need to partner with you. You need to be successful. And when you bring a customer to us, you're lending us your reputation and we don't take that lightly. And so those connecting relationships I think can be easily forgotten in what feels like a very transactional society.
Yes, that's so good. Okay, and last one. I didn't even put this on our outline, so surprise question. But if you could change one thing about the industry today, what would it be?
More willingness to be forward thinking, where there's always an excuse for not how why you can't do something, and I just can't stand being around people that everything you're like, oh, let's try this, that won't work because of, or that won't work because this reason, or we've always done it this way so we're not going to change this. I think that this industry should be much more forward thinking on how it innovates in its floor plans, what it's offered. I think that's one of the value propositions that our company has one of the reasons why we've had the success that we've had so far, knock on wood. And so I think that, but the willingness to make changes and adjustments and be forward thinking is something that I think has held, or I guess the unwillingness to do those things has been something that's held our industry back, where we always lag behind. I say about 10 years on how things are actually done on e-com online in the real world versus how we do it every day.
I noticed that very early on coming into industry and coming from other industries where we don't have that problem. It was like, oh my gosh, that's so crazy. We're going back in time here. But I
Yeah,
think we're catching up. Fingers crossed. I really do. I think we're catching up. And I think with all the changes, people are starting to shift their mindset a little bit, which is good to see.
yeah, yeah, absolutely.
All right, Matt, if there's anybody out there that has questions for you or wants to connect with you in any way, what would be the best way for them to do that?
Yeah, so I'm always happy to have I love having conversations with people in our industry about and sharing ideas about how things are being done and bouncing ideas off of people. You can always I'm online. You can find me on Instagram, Facebook, LinkedIn. Probably not as much LinkedIn. I'm the worst LinkedIn message checker ever. If you send me a LinkedIn message, it might be a month. Just don't go there very often because I just feel like everybody's trying to sell me something. It's some recruiter or some HR company. Anyway,
Yeah.
but yeah, so but those places, I'm always at the Builder Show. I believe I should be speaking again this year. Always happy to connect. The conversations in the hallways, as they say, are always better. You can get a lot more out of those sometimes than just the session. You can get some really great nuggets. So I'm always there, happy to connect and love meeting new people and just like I said, just sharing ideas.
Yeah, that's the best part of our industry. There's a lot of people that are like that, and we share information pretty freely, which I love. So, yeah, if you guys are builders out there and you don't go to the International Builder Show, I would definitely recommend it. It's going to be in Vegas again in 2027, which is awesome. And it's earlier in February as well. So, I'll put some links down there for that. And then I'll put your handles for Instagram as well, Matt, so people can find you over there. And if you guys do have any other questions as well, the comment box is always open. Leave us a comment and we will be down there as well. So I just want to thank all of our listeners for being here today. I hope you enjoyed this conversation as much as I have, and I hope that it was helpful for you. And if you did, please leave us add that comment. It helps us all out. So thank you, Matt, for being here. This was really fun.
Thanks so much, Sarah. Appreciate your time.
Absolutely. So everybody, go do those internet things, and we will see you in our next episode. Thanks so much and have a great day. Bye.